After a run of 2 glorious years on Broadway, Flower Drum Song comes to the screen with all the gaiety, humor, warmth, and charm, all the music and melody that made this story of San Francisco's Chinatown a smash hit on the stage.
I float as the clouds on air do. I enjoy being a girl.
Starring that bewitching Susie Wong girl, Nancy Kwan.
It's ticklish business any way you look at it. Come on, we'll stick together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ticklish Business, the podcast all about honoring old Hollywood. I'm Kristen Lopez. Emily Edwards is not here with us this week, but she is here in spirit. But in her place, we have a Hollywood legend, the amazing actress and author of the new book, The World of Nancy Kwan, a memoir by Hollywood's Asian superstar, Nancy Kwan herself. Nancy, how are you?
I'm very well, and how are you?
I get to talk to you. So, you know what? This is my week right here. This has made my day. So, I'm excited. I always am fascinated when, people write a memoir, any person, because I think memoir is very hard. What enticed you to want to finally lay your story out on the page?
Well, you have to blame it on my cousin, Kevin Kwan. Kevin Kwan is also an author.
Yes.
And he wrote Crazy Rich Asians. And he's the one who said, Nancy, you got to write your memoir. I said, why? I don't have much. Oh, no. You got a lot to say. You write your memoir. And that's how it began.
That's amazing. I totally forgot that you and Kevin Kwan are related. And I think that's even cooler, the kind of a legacy, the then and now, and literature and all of that. Shameless plug, I wrote a book for TCM about literary adaptations, and I included Crazy Rich Asians in it. So all comes back around. Where do you start with writing, sitting down to tell this story? I guess, did you think of your memories in chronological order, or how did the process of actually putting this out here begin?
Pretty much. I think it's, for me anyway, to make it so that it has a flow, to start from the beginning and kind of go, all the way so that it flows well. That, for me, that's how I started.
I think a lot of people, of course, know you for Flower Drum Song, which, if that's the only film they have seen, they are missing out, because you have done a multitude of films. I mean, for you, telling your story as an Asian woman in Hollywood, I know that you've talked on TCM and elsewhere about Flower Drum Song really being kind of a life-altering experience. How does that movie factor into your legacy at this point?
Flower Drum Song was the first film from a major studio with an all-Asian cast. So all the Asians at that time, I mean, we did that, in the 1960s. So it was very important to us because Asians were still playing minor roles and not getting the roles that they should get for whatever reason. And there were no roles written for them. So Flower Drum Song, I think, helped open doors because of that. And I know after the film, a lot of my Asian friends, actors, got jobs and went on with a career,
You are so good in the role. I mean, playing kind of this more Americanized character. Longtime listeners of the podcast know I love James Shigeta. I love him so very, very much. What was he like to work opposite?
James was a wonderful, very nice person. He had a very good heart. Nice. I mean, I couldn't ask anyone better to work with than James. And he's always very giving. I can't say enough about him. I just love him. And I'm sorry that he passed away.
To look at your career, which is so varied. I mean, you were born in Hong Kong,
Yes.
and to have such a litany of locations that you've lived in. I know that we talked about Merle Oberon on the last episode of the podcast, and kind of her struggles with having to be both South Asian and American, or in English, and Merle Oberon.
Melville, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just read about it. Yeah, I met her many years ago.
Really?
Yeah, race. It was one of. Oh, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was the party that Race and Frank Starr
Mhm,
gave me. It's in the book
mhm.
when I was introduced to Hollywood, to the Hollywood royalties and everything else. Milgram was there, and it's true. I mean, I wasn't aware of it, but she unfortunately she had to hide. She was part Indian,
Yeah.
and unfortunately at that time, I guess work-wise, she had to keep it a secret.
Yeah. Did you have challenges with being an Asian woman in Hollywood in the 60s?
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, there was a lot of racists and there, but I mean, I think there always will be.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's human nature. I do know why. I mean, it's just human nature, and and yes, and I had friends who, for example, tried to get an apartment. I think my girlfriend at that time, she wanted to get an apartment in Beverly Hills, and this lady said, "Oh no, we don't take Asians." I mean, things like that. Like roles, all my Asian friends, all they got were, like minor roles
Mhm.
that should have been playing major roles. So they really didn't get an opportunity. Let's put it that way.
It's definitely changed. I know
Yeah.
that when Crazy Rich Asians, the movie came out, we were still talking about the sheer amount of roles for Asian actors in that. And I'm like, should it have taken that long for another movie to be made? No.
It's much better
It's
today.
much
Yeah.
better.
And the
Yes.
awareness and people, Asians are writing for Asians, and we have Asian directors, producers. So that really helps a lot. I think, and the kids, they realize that, the young ones are very enthusiastic and they get to play more interesting roles than when we first started, there were hardly any roles there were none for Asians.
Exactly. No, there really wasn't. I mean, I know that The World of Susie Wong was your debut. You were just 21 when you did that. I mean,
Yeah.
you talked, a few seconds ago about being introduced to Hollywood and working with Ray Stark, who was a iconic producer. I mean,
Yeah.
what was that like to be, early 20s leading a film going to Hollywood?
Well, maybe the innocence helped me. I mean, I really wasn't thinking. I wanted to be a ballet dancer.
Mhm.
And I went to the Royal Ballet.
Right.
I mean, I was just home for the holidays in Hong Kong when I got discovered. Well, I wouldn't call it discovered, but I read that they were testing girls,
Mhm.
actresses, young actresses in Hong Kong, some of my favorite movie stars, for the possible role of the role of Susie Wong. So I thought, whoa, I'm going to try and get to the studio and see some of my favorite actresses. And so, luckily for me, my father designed the studio that they were testing the girls in. So my father got me in, and so I was standing in the corner watching this amazing screen test. And suddenly somebody said to me, "Are you here for the screen test?" I said, "Oh no, 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 no! I'm a ballet dancer. I'm not an actress. I'm just here to see, just to look at my favorite actresses testing." So they said, "Wouldn't you like to do a test?" I said, "Oh no, no, no! I wouldn't. I wouldn't know what to do." So they said, "Look, just sit down in the chair, and we're going to put a camera on you and just ask you a few questions. That's all." So I went, "Okay, all right, why not?" So I sat in the chair and they put a camera on me and they asked me questions. Every question they asked, I was giggling and laughing and I felt so silly. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. And that was it. So I went home and I told my father, it was very nice, and I told him what happened. And then when I was about to go back to England to ballet school, um, my father gets his letter from Ray Stark, or Ray Stark's company, introducing me to Hollywood and giving me a contract for 6 months. And I was getting paid for it too. I've never been paid for anything. I was just a student. And would I like to go to Hollywood, study with some of the best teachers, acting teachers, and do a screen test or a couple of screen tests again? So I said to my father, yeah, I've never been to America. I want to go to Los Angeles. Never been there. Would love to do that. So that's how it happened. It was just, it happened. In life, sometimes, all the stars are aligned and it happens.
Yeah. They called you, I was going through the book and so online, they called you the Chinese Bardot, in terms of Bridget Bardot. But I read that fame took you by surprise, that you were, people staring and people, putting you on display. Again, at 21, like that you're a baby at that point, was how
Maybe
did you
that helped.
manage?
Yeah, maybe because I didn't really know what I was doing. I wasn't aware. I mean, I was aware, but really didn't know about fame and they were staring at me when we were filming. So I thought, oh, okay, this is part of it, on location things. And then, of course, when the film came out, yeah, I remember an incident. I was shopping, I think with my stepmother in Hong Kong or Kowloon side, buying some material or something. And then I looked out the window and I see this group of people standing there. And I said, what are they looking at? And then I realized they were staring at me. So slowly you learn.
How did you stay grounded during that time? Like, how did you create
Maybe
boundaries?
I think my parents, my father was very strict. And so I think the family I came from, that helps a lot when you have somebody to keep you grounded, like my father.
Exactly. I mean, Susie Wong, you're being directed by Richard Quine, who
Yeah.
some actresses loved him, some actresses hated him. Esther Williams, I think Esther Williams famously did not enjoy him. What was he like to work with as a director?
Richard Quine?
Mhm.
Oh, I love Richard Quine. He was wonderful to work with. I don't think I could have done the film without William Holden's
Yeah,
help,
yeah.
Ray Stark, and Richard Quine. I mean, I couldn't because working on the set, I mean, it was my first film, had no idea. But I know I had done the play before. I was on the road with the world of Susie Wong. We were traveling on the road. I was on the stage production, and then Ray Stark called me out of the blue and said, come to London for a screen test. I said, what are you talking about, screen test? Screen test for what? I said, for Susie Wong. I said, you're already shooting Susie Wong. What? Oh, no. They said, the director's out, the actress is out, we're starting over. I went, well, I just can't leave I'm in a play. I just can't tell David Murray I'm leaving. He said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Just get on a plane the next day. Tell them your father's not well. I didn't really like that. And just come to London and test with William Holden. I said, test? Anyway, I got on a plane. He took care of the play and went to London. And they had me in the costume and everything else. Thank goodness I knew the play very well, so I know that the role well and the lines, pretty much the same because the play is a little different from the film. And did the screen test. And then at the end of the day, Ray Stark said, oh, that was your first day of shooting. It wasn't really a screen test. It's your first day of shooting. And I went, okay.
And Bill Holden was an established icon at this point in his own right. What kind of actor was he? Was he collaborative? How did you two?
Very, very, very. Bill Holden is that kind of person. He's like a man's man, a woman's man. Everybody loves Bill. He's very knowledgeable, not only about film, but about the world affair, everything else. He has many interests he had. And he was great to work with because he's such an established actor.
Yeah.
For me, he knew I was a beginner, and he was really, I couldn't have done it without him, really helpful. For example, in the book, it says, one time, I didn't know much about lighting. Or another thing, Jeff Unsworth, the cinema photographer.
Yeah.
Won 3 films, great cinema photographer. Anyway, the lighting, there was a shadow on my face. I wouldn't know a shadow from the next shadow. Bill just kind of slightly just moved me out of the shadow. He's that kind of actor.
A lot of those actors knew about, the key light, and Betty
Yeah.
Davis invented, specific
Yeah.
lights that worked well. I mean, they were really involved in the minutia of the production at that time. Susie Wong it's 1960, it's very much of that 60s aesthetic and
Yeah.
era. What do you think the legacy of that film is?
I don't know. I've never thought about it. I hope. I mean, it did very well. The film did very well.
Yes.
When it came out financially and everything, of course, because William Holden was a big star at that time, and it was a good film. I mean, what do I know? Good film, bad film, but I enjoyed it. But I thought it was a good film, and apparently it did very well financially. So my career went on. Ray was very pleased. And then I just happened to get Flower Drum Song, because I was at a party, and it sounds like a Hollywood story. I was invited to one of these Hollywood parties, and for the young actors, they
Yeah.
like to go sometimes get dressed up and then go and, I don't know, meet people and hopefully get another job. So I'm there and talking. Luckily I had some friends with me that night, and we were kind of chatting. And this man comes over and says, "You're Linda Lowe." I said, "What?" I said, "What is he doing?" He said, "You're perfect for Linda Lowe." And I said, who is this guy? He said, "I'm Ross Hunter, and I'm the producer of Flower Drum Song. And I think you're perfect for Linda Lowe, for the role of Linda Lowe, and you'll hear from me." The next day, I got the screenplay from him, read the screenplay, loved the role. It was the easiest job I ever got.
How was Henry Coster different as a director than Richard Quine, or was he different?
They're all different. I mean, Henry Costa's an old-time Hollywood. He's done a lot of really good films, but the old Hollywood. Dick Quine was a little bit younger, I think, in that. And no, I mean, they're both great to work with. I must say, they were very helpful, and no complaints.
I mean, your performance of "I Enjoy Being a Girl" is iconic. I sing that song probably more than most people should. And it's been in commercials, it's been in movies. I mean, your voice singing that song is ubiquitous. Is that strange to you? To hear it in commercials, or know that it's
I've never heard it in commercials.
It's been, I want to say around Christmas time, maybe last year or the year prior. I forget. I'll have to find out who was using it, but I remember hearing it to sell Christmas stuff. I don't know what it was, but it worked out really well. I was just like, I hope this means people check out the soundtrack now and see the movie.
Yeah.
Hopefully entice a new generation of people to love Flower Drum Song. It's very cool.
Yeah, we just had a few months ago a screening at the Academy Museum.
Right.
So I did a Q&A and talked to them about it. It's another generation, a couple of generations, and they're always interested, and especially Asian Americans, because it's the first film with the all Asian Americans, a big Hollywood studio film, so they love it. And I enjoyed the film. I mean, I thought the music was great. You can't go wrong with Rodgers and Hammerstein.
No, not at all.
And the actors are wonderful to work with, like Miyoshi, Jimmy, Jack Soo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's so good. It's one of those movies where I can watch it and I never get tired of it. The production design, it feels, it's very 1960s, and yet, it feels so different than South Pacific, or some of those other kind of Rodgers and Hammerstein films that feel kind of that time period. I mean, you've worked with some other iconic. I mean, you worked with Glenn Ford in Beta's the Hunter. Has Glenn Ford and Suzanne Pleshette and Rod Taylor. I've heard Glenn Ford was a difficult person to work with sometimes. What was your experience of working with him on that?
I had heard that before I started the film, and I didn't know what to expect. But no, it was a gentleman. I mean, he knows exactly. He's another one, and he was a good friend of Bill Hoon. The two of them were good friends. And Glenn Ford, I remember he says, "Nancy, I only like to be shot on one side of my face." so I looked at him and I went, "Whoa, both sides look fine to me. I mean, it looks great." So I'm looking at him. No, no. He said, "I look much better on one side, so I just want to be shot on that side." So I said, "Okay." So and then we were talking. He was very much into astrology. So me too. So we would used to talk about that and fortune tellers and things like that.
I
He
didn't know
also had
that.
any interest.
I would not have figured Glenn Ford for being a guy who would know what his rising sign is, and I love that. And then to go from doing that to doing something like The Wrecking Crew with Dean Martin, of all
Yeah.
people. I mean, you worked with some manly men back in the day and held your own, which is just bananas to think about, bananas. But The Wrecking Crew, no one talks about that movie, and they should, because it's you, it's Dean Martin, it's Sharon Tate, it's a spy
Yeah.
movie. How did that film come to you of all things?
No, I think so. My agent got a call and they wanted me to be in the film. I loved working with Dean Martin. Here's another one,
Yeah.
another iconic figure. I mean, he is so laissez-faire, he's so relaxed and everything else. And I remember the first time on the set, I went on the set, first time I worked with him, and has his cup in his hand. So I had heard about his drinking.
Right.
So I'm trying to see what he was drinking. He said, "Nancy, it's tea. I'm drinking tea." So I went, "Oh, okay, okay." And he's another one, wonderful to work with. And I enjoyed it. And Elke Sommer and Sharon. Sharon Tate and I were friends. I talk about that in the book too. Uh, she was a beautiful person, beautiful to look at, beautiful outside and inside.
Yes.
Very innocent. Oh, really, I've never met anyone quite like Sharon. It was just so innocent. She really meant it. I mean, she's been in Hollywood, done movies and everything, but she had this innocence about her. And I'm just, even to today, I think about her and it's so sad what happened. It's tragic. It's not even sad. And that's, what can I say?
And that's another, movie that thanks to Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in
Yeah,
Hollywood, where he
yeah.
uses the clip of your fight scene with Sharon. I mean that
And Bruce Lee. Yeah.
yes, it gives that a whole new generation of people that would have never known what that movie is, have now checked it out and, hopefully loved it. And I
Yeah.
mean that fight scene that you and her have, we see in Tarantino's movie that she trained extensively for it. Did you
Yeah.
train extensively for it?
Yeah, it was Bruce Lee.
Wow.
Shannon and I were practicing, and he said, "Oh, we want to introduce you to a stunt." It wasn't a stunt coordinator; it was a stunt actor or stunt person, martial arts person. So, and then this guy comes in and he says, "I'm Bruce Lee." That's how Bruce is. I'm Bruce Lee. So I said, "Hi," and he's from Hong Kong. Pretty much, he went to the La Salle, the school, it's a Catholic school, and I went to Marino, the Catholic school very close by. And a lot of the La Salle boys used to go over and chat with the Marino girls. So we knew the two schools. I mean, we all know each other quite well.
Yeah.
But I didn't meet Bruce in Hong Kong. We were about the same age. So I met him here on the film, surprisingly. Then we became good friends. And later on, he always told me, "I'm going back to Hong Kong. I'm going to be a big martial arts star." That's how he talks. I said, "I believe you. I believe you." And he went back to Hong Kong and he became a big martial arts star.
I love that.
He was so positive, Bruce.
That's amazing. I mean, having worked with so many legends, do you get starstruck? Were you ever starstruck by meeting somebody in Hollywood?
Probably all the time. I mean, but I tried not to be, like Groucho Marx. I met him.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
I thought he was so funny, and Edward G. Robinson and all those great actors, character actors. I thought I'm just very happy and that I had the pleasure, very pleased that I got to meet them.
That's amazing. Is there a performer that you didn't work with or didn't get to meet that you would have wanted to, but just time or
Oh, probably during at that time, many. Like I always admired Paul Newman,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
and I used to see him in the studio. I was doing, I don't know what film I was doing, and he was driving this little hotshot sports car. He's always into cars and
Yeah.
things. And actually, we all had dinner one night, and his wife Joanne Woodward. And I wish I had worked with him in our days anyway. So
That would have been, I mean, that would have been amazing. I can see you
yeah,
two playing something together, and that would have been, I mean, that's, I think, what people love about the studio system. It had its flaws, yes, but just the fact that you were able to mingle with so many people, and the community that it fosters is
that's right.
very different than Hollywood today.
Very, very. When I came in, actually, it was the almost the end of the
The
studio.
downhill slide,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was under contract, and there were very few people under contract at that time anymore. Most of them were breaking out and have their own agents and managers, and the studio system was changing rapidly. And so, yeah, it was that. I'm so glad I got to see that because that's the real Hollywood for me. That's Hollywood.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not like today, so it's very different, let's
It's
say.
very,
From
very different. I mean, was there a film that either you went out for that you would have loved to have played back in the day that you didn't get?
I'm sure many. I mean, I went for different roles, not only Asian roles. I went
Right.
for other nationalities too, because I thought, why not? You
Yeah.
must try it. Most times you don't get a chance like the Asian actors because they say, "Oh, you're Asian." But I was lucky because I had Ray Stark, and so he put me in films that had no nationality. I played a circus performer that didn't mention a nationality, and an English girl, even in England. So at least I had the opportunity to do it.
Exactly. I mean, and I have to bring up, I mean, you worked with Disney. You worked with the Walt Disney Company
Yeah,
in 1966. Lieutenant Robin Caruso.
yeah.
Working with Disney at that time, and that has also an incredibly stacked cast, including I think it's Deborah Carr and Dick Van Dyke. I think it was Deborah Carr. I might be wrong on Deborah Carr. I'll cut
No,
that
it's
part out.
not Dick Van
Oh,
Dyke. Yeah.
yeah,
Akeem Tamaroff, who played my
that's
father,
right. That's
and
right.
Uncle Walt. It was, I mean, working with Disney is, you know exactly what you're going to do. I always, everything is storyboarded. You can go in and you say, oh, you're going to have one close up, two long shots, and today. I mean, they storyboard everything, and it's very organized. And I loved it because we were in Hawaii,
Yeah.
and so, just love filming in Hawaii.
It's a vacation while you're working. So,
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Dick Van Dyke is still with us, closing in
Yes,
on
I
100.
hope so. Yes,
Yes, he
I mean,
is.
he's another one wonderful to work with.
Yeah.
And he moves like a dancer. I mean, he's funny, he's and then what was that monkey called? Dinky. There was a monkey we worked with. Oh my God. He was so naughty. Every time I walk past, he would pat me on the bum and jump up and down and jump up and down. And I thought, oh my goodness.
I
So
have to ask a beauty question because I think you are one. I mean, to watch your movies, you always look flawless. Your hair is goals for me. Like I wish your Linda Lowe hairstyle in Flower Drum Song is fantastic. I mean, to work with all of that, the hair and makeup people of that time. I mean, I guess how much of that look was something you were already rocking kind of on the daily, and how much of that was kind of for film? Because I know some actresses, they like to keep a natural look and look how they did off screen. Was that something that you wanted to do, or how much of that was the studio
I
hair and
don't,
makeup?
what do you mean? No, no, when you're working, you're playing a role.
Yeah,
So I guess, you have to dress and have hair to suit that role.
yeah.
um, when I'm not working, I just let it flow. I mean, it's just, I don't really bother with it. Now it's short. I mean, I always had long hair. And now that I'm older, I have short hair. But No, I mean, we had great, I mean, those days too, the studio working, they had great makeup and hair people, knew exactly what they're doing. And so it was a joy, working with them. And I mean, it should really, I think the hairstyle and the costume and the role should all go together. I mean, that's what I believe in.
Exactly. No, and I mean, I know that, Veronica Lake is always the example I go to. She was so known for that peekaboo bang and she hated it. She was like, she put her hair up when she was not working. Some
Yeah,
actresses are very much like if it was not for the role, I would not look like that.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, but you're playing a role,
Yeah.
so you have to look like the role.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, nowadays, I mean, you've been working pretty consistently. You work throughout the night. You do audio, you recorded audiobooks. You've done a little bit of everything. I mean, what are you in terms of future projects? What does a film have to do if you wanted to do it at this point in time, since the film industry is so
Ugh,
different?
I don't know. I'm too old to work too hard.
I love that. Oh, go
I
on.
like I like to write, and I mean, I used to do a lot of independent films.
Yeah.
We would write scripts, we would get the people together, all our friends were actors, and I mean, I've done that many times. Independent films, cinematographer, I mean, just friends of ours, and make movies. And I love that way of working, that freedom and everything else. I mean, when the studio system is something else, it's
Yeah.
but when you do independent films, you do pretty much what you want. You write the role that you want to be in or you want to play. So I love that too. For my future, I don't know. I mean, I really, whatever comes, whatever will be.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, doing your memoirs, I think what do they say? Once you do your memoirs, you can write anything. So, I'd be down for more Nancy Kwan books. Not to add more to your plate, but but oh my gosh, I this has been such a treat. I can't wait for people to get to read the book and to go back and
I think they'll enjoy it, the memoir. It's a lot about Hollywood
yeah.
in my time, during that time, especially with Asians, working in Hollywood and the hardship and everything else, and then the how it evolved and it flows. The book has I think a lot to say.
I
I
have
hope
to
so.
I have to end by asking a question that I ask everybody, almost everybody that does this. What is your favorite old Hollywood film?
My favorite film?
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't yeah, not one of your own, but I mean, what is your
No,
favorite?
favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that you
I
love
tell
out
you,
of them all.
the first film I ever saw, Hollywood film, was in Hong Kong, was The Wizard of Oz. That
Yeah.
was my first film I ever saw. And my favorite director is David Lean and Lawrence of Arabia and Bridge on the River Kwai. Those are my kind of films. Big Hollywood spectacles. You
Epics.
get into
Yeah.
the characters and wonderful acting, wonderful sets, wonderful direction, camera moves, lots of extras. They don't make films like that anymore.
No, they don't. They don't. It breaks my heart. I mean, now they probably spend the budget of Lawrence of Arabia, but the movie certainly doesn't look like it cost $300 million. But
Uh,
now everything costs $300 million.
yeah, I know. It's just, I mean, times change and that's it.
Yeah. That's going to close out Ticklish Business for this episode. As always, we thank you so much for continuing to support us while we are working on a multitude of books. You can always visit us on our social media platforms. I'm at Kristen Lopez 88, and I have my Substack newsletter, which is the Film Maven. That's 2ms.substack.com. Emily Edwards is always at Ms. Emily Edwards. We also have books that we would love for you to purchase. You can purchase those wherever you do get books. The Patreon keeps the lights on at Ticklish Biz HQ and keeps us motivated to do episodes as we are continuing to do other things. So we thank everybody for their support. If you would like to help us out, you can start at just $1 at patreon.com/ticklishbiz. And we have our archive, which is always free, going back to episode 1 at ticklishbusiness.podbean.com. We will be back with a new episode soon. Till then.